Yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of the national anthem. You may be seated. Show of hands, those who want to say amen once the anthem is finished playing. So I'm not alone, right? Good afternoon and welcome to the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's PATH Town Hall meeting organized for the good people of Clarendon. My name is Stacey Ann Smith and it is my pleasure to be your moderator for this very important conversation, the second in a series of town hall meetings that are being held across the country. Today, it's all about PATH, the program of advancement through health and education, and it has been providing support for the most vulnerable in our society for more than 20 years. Today, we want to talk about how to improve it. Today is also about you, the beneficiaries, members of the community, and other key stakeholders. Our mission is to hear from you. We want to hear your ideas on how PATH can be improved to better serve you, those who need it most. We know there are problems, right, Minister? And Minister continues to assure that you are in a safe space. You can share your concerns, but most importantly, we want to hear your thoughts on how to improve it going forward. That's the mode that we are in now. We are in, let us work together to fix it, to enhance. We want to put a whole lot of energy behind that this afternoon. That is our key focus. What are the ideas that you have, the suggestions, the recommendations, as we look to find solutions in this process of reform and transformation? In many cases, as you know, the end users, you, the beneficiaries, are the ones that have the best ideas on how to make it better. You know, you have the experiences, and that's what we want. This is an open forum. We want you to talk about the ideas that you have as to how it can be improved. Let me acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Minister of Labour and Social Security, Colonel Charles Jr. Good afternoon to you, sir. And let me also acknowledge the presence of the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, Mrs. Colette Roberts-Risden. Mrs. Colette Roberts-Risden, we're going to hear from her a little bit later. We also have members of her team here. That is Mrs. Audrey Dare-Williams, the Chief Technical Director. Mrs. Dare Williams, wave at everybody so we can see you. PS is on the stage. We want to make sure that we know who the CTD is. We also have the Mayor of Maypen, Joel Williams, here. Would you wave at them, sir? And we also have in our midst the Venerable Leroy Johnson, the Rector of the St. Gabriel's Anglican Church and Archdeacon of Mandeville. Wave at them, sir. Welcome. You can clap them, you know. Very good. Thank you very much. Special welcome also to representatives of other agencies of government, the SDC, Food for the Poor Relief Department. We also have education officers, citizens associations in our midst. Of course, we have teachers, parents, the media who are helping us to tell the amazing stories of PATH. And of course, special shout out to PATH beneficiaries. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you. I have to also single out members of the team from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security who have been giving some support on the ground. If you passed coming through, I think is at the right gate, you would see them setting up out there, providing information, helping people to understand how to apply, answering questions, and that's so very important, providing information. Thank you so much to that team for the commitment and the support today. Indeed, a big thank you to everyone for taking the time to be here. There were people very early and seated and in an orderly fashion, and we also want to thank you for that. Happy to welcome our online audience. Thanks to those who have tuned in to the social media pages of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. The Jamaica Information Service is also streaming live, and we want to ensure that we not only consider our online audience, but give them an opportunity later to ask their own questions. Ladies and gentlemen, today's town hall is being held under the theme, On the Path to Transformation. The minister will tell you more about that path and the overall vision that he has for the program. But I know for sure what he and the team really want is feedback, those suggestions that I mentioned earlier. How do we improve the program? How do we continue this transformation process so it can better serve the needs of the most vulnerable? Minister Charles and the Permanent Secretary have been very clear about the need for engagement, which is what today's meeting is all about, to make sure that the ministry provides information, gets the ideas going forward, and we're going to spend some time on that this afternoon. We'll hear from both the minister and the PS, but first I want to invite the Venerable Leroy Johnson, Rector of the St. Gabriel's Anglican Church and Archdeacon of Mandeville, to offer prayers. Please make him welcome.
The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Lord of our lives and God of our salvation, we render to you heartfelt thanks for the many blessings we have received from your hands. You continue to provide for your people as your faithfulness is extended to the ends of the earth. We thank you for Jamaica, land we love, for this little paradise that you have placed within the Caribbean space. We thank you for its people, for its lovely climate, for its fruitfulness, for its rich culture. We continue to pray for those who lead. Especially today, we remember before you our Prime Minister, Andrew, and the leader of the parliamentary opposition, Mark, for all members of Parliament, for the recently elected councillors serving in local government. Remember especially today our parish, Clarendon, We pray for our new Custos, Edith, for our Mayor, Joel. As we now seek to huddle for discussion, which is geared towards the upliftment of the citizens, especially the vulnerable poor, for those who struggle to make two ends meet, we pray your guidance upon us all and upon those who head the initiatives undertaken under the PATH program. So guide your servant, Colonel Charles Jr., and his team from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, all the stakeholders, so that the decisions made may advance the well-being and welfare of your people, transform lives for the better, and transform them into the likeness of Christ. Be with our families, we pray. Be with our schools. Be with all those who facilitate learning and the development of our citizens. And so we bring before you our young people. We bring before you our senior citizens. Remember those living with disabilities. And remember lactating mothers at this time. And so we pray that the spirit of love, cooperation, and respect may govern what transpires this day on. And in all things, may your kingdom come, and may your will be done, on earth as in heaven. We pray through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Thank you so much for that very insightful prayer. Today we're on a path to transformation, and we believe that that path must be lit by the presence of our Heavenly Father. Can I get an amen to that? All right. Our beneficiaries are here with us at St. Gabriel's Anglican Church, and many others are joining us online, and we're going to open up the floor later on for that open dialogue to hear from you all. But right now, I believe it would be a good time to set the context, particularly for those persons who have joined us or tuned in who may not know a lot about PATH. The Program of Advancement Through Health and Education was first introduced in 2002. It's Jamaica's flagship social assistance program, providing cash grants to about 350,000 beneficiaries. Let's watch this short video for some insights.
Hi, my name is Anissa McFarlane. With the help of the funds that my family and I received from PATH, my siblings and I were able to attend school, obtain good meals, and prepare for the start of each year. Now this is from primary to high school, including sixth form, and that's approximately 13 years in all. PATH not only helped there, but after completing my CSEC and CAPE examinations, and I did great of course, I was actually able to obtain a scholarship that definitely assisted me financially in university. My family and I are grateful to PATH for all the help that we received. I endorse the path to transformation.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Makeda Bailey, and I come from very humble beginnings. My father a farmer and my mother a stay-at-home mom. Love them both dearly. I ended sixth form knowing that I wanted to study medicine, right? However, having come from very humble beginnings, there was that financial burden on my shoulder, wondering if I could afford the tuition. But glory be to God that I was granted the PATH scholarship, and it's aided phenomenally in me completing medical school. I was able to take less student loans, and I have less money to pay student loan and more money in my pockets, and I was able to go through medical school without having that financial burden, you know. And I'm just extremely grateful to the PATH committee and for the help that they were able to provide in letting a little country girl's dreams come true. So I fully endorse the path to transformation.
Yeah, good day. My name is Ramon Thomas. I'm here to tell you guys that I'm a proud beneficiary of the PART program. This program have done a tremendous job for me and my family over the years going to the Portmore Archers NTA. And in addition to that, the PART program has also done a tremendous job for me as well by granting me a business grant. This program did such a good thing for me when I was training at the Art College of Construction Service in Portmore, where I was doing a welding level 3 and a diploma in drywall construction, which they gave me $600 Jamaican dollar per week. It was tremendous for me during those times of difficulty when there's no help, my family could not give me any support. The PART program helped me a lot. This benefit that the PART program gave to me has done so much for me, including at this moment speaking to you guys. I'm currently in the UK working as a skilled worker doing welding and pipe fitting. I endorse the PART program in Jamaica doing such a wonderful job, and I hope they could do this for many more young youths.
Good day everybody, greetings to all. My name is Zachary Campbell and I am a final year electrical engineering student at the University of Technology. You know, PAF has always been a very integral part of my scholastic journey. My earliest memories of PAF dates back to high school, where I benefited from various initiatives associated with PAF. For instance, the lunch program, and also being able to do all of the external exams that was required for me to transition from one stage to the next. PAF was also instrumental during my time at university, where where the substantial fees associated with going to school was greatly alleviated by me being recipients of grants and various scholarships under the Ministry of Labour associated with the PAF program, and that's why I am fully endorse the path to transformation.
Okay, so there might be a space of background noise. My name is Brittany Monroe, and I'm here to talk about how PAF has helped me in my journey of becoming a pharmacist. And today I can't forget receiving the acceptance letter, and my aunt would always pay for school fees and all that. She came to me and she said that she's not sure if she'll be able to help in the way that she always has been able to help. So immediately I knew that I had to go and source scholarships, and I did a good amount, I think a handful, and I just remember receiving an email from PAF, and they were only going to help fund my journey. So I just want to say thanks, and I endorse the PAF to transformation.
I think that deserves a round of applause. Talk about impact. Talk about lives that have been changed and continue to be improved because of the input of this amazing program. I know there are many people in this room, in this parish certainly, who can resonate with those stories. Clarendon is on record as the parish with the second highest number of registered beneficiaries. Am I right, PS? Totaling 33,530 as at December 2023. Therefore, it is very strategic that Clarendon is among the parishes where the ministry is holding a town hall meeting. It's not by chance, it's because you are special. That is why we are here. Give yourselves another round of applause. It's also important that residents from this parish are incorporated in the discussion, and that you have a chance firsthand to meet with the minister, to share your thoughts and ideas. We know that the ministry is already making some steps. I understand the monitoring system has been improved. They're looking at the selection criteria, the evaluation process, and the appeals process. All of those things are improved, and we also know that there have been other developments. I don't know how many of you have been following the budget debates that's going on in the House of Representatives. Show of hands, those who are following. Now, every hand should be up in this room. Do you know why? Because that is your business. that is your money that is being spent. These are our leaders, your leaders. We have to be part of the process. It is for us to follow along closely, to inquire, to understand. And I know the administration, right, Minister, is very keen on that, making sure that our citizens understand what is happening and follow the conversation. You would have heard the Minister announce yesterday that there is going to be an increase in the allocation for payments on the path. I think that deserves a round of applause. Minister may touch on that when he comes to the lectern shortly. There's also an increase in the threshold, right? The income tax threshold. Lots of very important information. The Jamaica Information Service is also carrying all of this. So it really is our duty as citizens to make sure that we are following along. We are now going to invite one of the architects of the PATH program, a senior civil servant who played a very important role in designing and implementing PATH from the start. I'm talking about the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, Mrs. Colette Roberts-Risden. Please make her welcome.
Thank you. Stacey Ann Smith, our moderator, Honorable Pernell Charles Jr., Reverend, other members of the ministry's team from head office, the parish office, GIS, other members of the media, beneficiaries, schools, health center, personnel, everybody, good afternoon. That was a good afternoon. I bring you greetings and extend my heartiest welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining us today on this important discourse. For more than 2 decades, the government of Jamaica has been on a mission to break the intergenerational cycle of poverty that persists among many families. And many of us can attest to it. I know I can attest to it, that it is through health, good health, and education, because we were educated and we went to school, why many of us have been able to improve our social standing in Jamaica. And we see the testimonials of the former PATH beneficiaries earlier, and we know that they are on a path to, well, they have reached and they're continuing to reach higher heights through education and with the support of PATH. We see a doctor, a pharmacist, and so forth. And Minister, we're very proud as a ministry of some of the successes of PATH. In 2000, we undertook a massive reform of the social safety net to ensure that it had the capacity to identify the most vulnerable among us. We also tried to remove duplication and to ensure that it was not the greedy but the most needy who benefited from the programs that we had to offer. At that time, we had the food stamp program. Any of you remember the food stamp program? I see several hands. And you remember you used to get the food stamps? And you remember how we used to pay them? Not very well, right? We used to pay them on the shop pays and thing. And then we moved to PATH. And we felt good about PATH because we made a big transformation at the time. Well, now we are on a path for another transformation with PATH. And over the years, we have done quite a number of things and initiatives through PATH. Back in the day, any of you remember cost sharing in high school? The schools would remember, the principals and the guidance counselors would remember. We used to have cost sharing. And when PATH came in, the government said, you know, PATH students should not have to pay for school fees. And so there was cost sharing, but PATH students got the tuition fees paid. And then the PATH students got free health care. But of course, all of that has changed because over time, the government has made tuition fee, has removed tuition fees and fees in the primary health care system. In 2004, anybody remembers Hurricane Ivan? I'm going to tell you all the things we did with PATH over the past 22 years. You heard the moderator said that PATH has been around for 22 years. It's actually 23, because in 2001 we did the pilot, but we don't count the pilot. We count from when we started the island-wide implementation of PATH. And in 2004, we used PATH as a vehicle to provide additional benefits. Remember, Jamaica was devastated after Ivan, right? A lot of persons, especially in the southern part of the country, and Clarendon in particular. And so we used PATH to provide additional support to persons who were deemed vulnerable. We did that in 2010 with Tropical Storm Nicole, and then during COVID. For the beneficiaries who are here, you remember during COVID you got additional payments, right? And we were very happy for it. I wasn't on PATH, but I saw those checks that were going out, and the monies looked quite nice during those times. And so the government used PATH as a vehicle to provide additional benefits to those most in need. In 2008, so I'm taking you down memory lane. In 2008, we introduced differentiated payments for boys and girls. And you know why we did that? We did that because our boys were dropping out of school. The mothers who are here, you remember you used to get a little more money for the boys? You remember, right? I see you in the pink Barbie smiling. You remember, the boys used to get a little more money than the girls because we wanted to send a signal that educating our boys is important, is just as important as educating our girls. Well, we have since removed that and is one benefit level now. And in 2008, we did another thing with PATH. We introduced the Steps to Work initiative. The Steps to Work initiative, some of you would have benefited from it, where we helped you to start a little business, skills training, or something. I see some of you nodding, so you know it's PATH, and we used PATH for that, right? And we did job readiness among some of our youth who were having it difficult to find jobs and things. And then in 2013, we introduced the tertiary bursaries, because up until 2013, PATH was providing support for our children from birth up to the end of high school. But if we are truly going to be transforming the lives of our people, we need to go beyond high school, right? And so we introduced the tertiary bursaries, where our students on PATH, or formerly on PATH, could then access these bursaries to help pay for university education. And it doesn't cover the entire university education, but it's a significant sum when you're starting from zero. And so we provide that support. Of course, the students who get the tertiary bursary have to maintain a good average, right? And in 2013, we did some initiatives with persons with disabilities who are on PATH. And in 2014, we had a parenting pilot. Anybody remember the parenting pilot? No, none of you remember the parenting pilot. So maybe Clarendon wasn't part of the pilot. And to be honest, the parenting pilot was not the best, and it didn't continue, right? So we have done a number of changes and tweaks to PATH over the years from where we're coming from. And as the moderator said, we are here. We know, just like in our homes, right? We're always trying to renovate and fix up, because we must improve as time goes along, right? You agree? And so we are here today to hear from you your recommendations. We have heard some of them, Minister and the team. We were in St. Anne, today we're in Clarendon. We heard some in St. Anne, we're here to hear from Clarendon now. We're here to hear from the schools, the principals, the guidance counselors, the nurses, the SDC, you, the beneficiaries who are most important. And I see two men walking in. I don't know who they are, but welcome. I don't know if you're from the school or Ministry of Education. So welcome. Good to have Ministry of Education representatives here. And so the Prime Minister mandated our minister to look at path and to review path to ensure that some of the complaints, because some people complain bitterly, right, that we address them and that we look to improving path for, we have gone 22 years, for maybe the next 22 years to come. So it's good to be here today. I look forward to hearing all the suggestions and recommendations, and I know we have problems, but I am really, really keen on hearing your thoughts as to how we can fix it. What are some of your suggestions that we should take on board? So thank you very much, Clarendon. Minister, very good to be in your parish today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, PS. You know, as she took us down memory lane, I could not help but recall my own story. I shared it with beneficiaries when we were in Brownstown. So I am a life that was changed. My family was one of those who relied on food stamps back in the day before you had a wonderful structure called PATH. So back then, my family got food stamps. I'm from Kingston. Very humble beginnings, and in one generation we were able to make that transition that the PS talks about and that the minister talks about, giving people a hand up. So it is support that will help you to move from where you are to closer to your dreams and to where you want to be. So it is possible, as you heard from the PATH beneficiaries on video there, and as I can attest, that kind of social support for families works. It absolutely works, and it is so important. So another round of applause for the PS and the team who are ensuring that PATH shows up for almost 130,000 families across Jamaica every single day. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no question that there is positive impact. Our next speakers can attest to that, as can I. Please welcome now our PATH beneficiary and resident of Savannah in Hayes, Clarendon, Mrs. Shirley Morgan Bowen. I'm going to have to give her a bigger clap than that. Please to make Miss Shirley feel sweet. Thank you so much. Yes, please. Miss Shirley, say, up there. Yes, my darling. You will have to speak and project on the microphone.
Good evening, my PATH family. Good evening, one and all. It's a privilege to be here this evening. Look where I'm at. Good evening, everybody. I'm here. I'm here on behalf of the PATH program, on behalf of my daughter. My daughter, she attended NCU, the Northern Caribbean in Mandeville. She's studying counseling, and it's because of the part of help her with her tuition as school fee, and others from that. My grandchildren have been benefit from parts. So every 2 months, then we get parts. So I am grateful for parts, for transforming me, from lifting up me and helping me and my grandchildren and also my family. Because at the end of the day, we also look forward for it. And we are so grateful that they choose us to be on part. And I'm so thankful for the minister who has chosen me and my daughter. It's a privilege. All who are not on part, I am inviting you to come on board. Come on board. Come on board. It's a blessing because, you know, reality, them say little is much when God in it. And it's really a benefit because I want to tell you my story. My last daughter, she has 12 subjects, and it is so hard to find the school fee. And when she said, Mommy, every year she get benefit from parts to pay her school fee, I am so glad. I'm grateful. You know, and I'm saying to you guys, just let parts be, let parts be a part of our family. Because at the end of the day, we can rely on it. We know that when it comes one time, the 2 months time, we are looking out for it, and it is dear for us. And I'm not ashamed to tell you that when I get my part money, I went to supermarket. So, you know, it's a privilege to come on board. It always transforms us. Amen. And when it come and the 2 months time, we are so bossy coming with our bags and so on, and it is from parts. So just accept them as all they are and all they are transforming our life. Let us work with them and, you know, let them feel welcome because they are doing a great job in our life.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Miss Shirley. And to think Miss Shirley was a little shy. Can you imagine that? All right. We do have another beneficiary, but just before we take the other testimonial, I do believe that the Mayor Joel Williams, is going to say a few words. Mayor Williams, please make him welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, Minister Pernell Charles Jr., Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Social Security and Labor, ladies and gentlemen, Reverend Green, distinguished guests, those of you who gathered here this evening to be a part of this very important program known as PATH. We want to thank the government and Minister Charles for this initiative. Minister, I don't have to tell you because they are in other forum that we have raised the challenges that persons who want to be engaged have been facing. And it is indeed a pleasure this afternoon for you to be here in Maypen with us to change the program to one which will be more engaging to those who are well needy. And so on behalf of all the residents of Maypen and its environment, we want to thank you very much for the vision, because the Bible says where there is no vision, the people perish. I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of teachers here this afternoon who are related, because they too have to find the ways and means at school when those children are there, our students, who cannot find the lunch, and because they have that spirit of wanting those kids to achieve, they have to create that which is sometimes not there. They have to create the miracle to make sure they find lunches for those students. So those of you who have been doing that, this evening I want to say thank you. But Minister is at your door this afternoon, opening it for you to make sure that tomorrow, those children who wants to learn, as you would have heard the testimonial, will have the opportunity because the government, through Minister Charles, is providing you with the opportunity so that they can become the men and women they want to be tomorrow. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you for that, Mayor Williams. Appreciate it. Let's make way now and welcome our next path beneficiary who will share her own experience. She is Mrs. Monique Blair Manning, a beneficiary from MOCO, right here in Clarendon. Please make her welcome.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to the Minister of Labor and Social Security, Colonel Charles Jr., and his team, His Worship the Mayor Gerald Williams, special invited guests, administrative staff of the Ministry of Labor, regional and parish offices, members of the security forces here today. Good afternoon. I am glad that PAD has chosen me and given me a sense of responsibility and laying this foundation and speaking on behalf of PAD beneficiaries. This has been very overwhelming to me. For all of us, or most persons in my community, are farmers. We till the ground and bring our produces to the market. PAD has been very supportive, and I am really grateful. I am humbled being on PAD for the past 7 years. I remember growing up as a child when it was food stamp. My mom used to collect it at the clinic when we were living in Arsal. This is what PAD has done for me. I received an ESI grant, Education and Social Intervention, through Ministry of the Rehabilitation Program. The grant assisted me in completing a practical nursing course, which I have accomplished. PAD plans to widen and implement new measures to mitigate against poverty and evaluate, see what is working, strengthen strengths, evaluate for persons that are not on the program. Another function of PAD is to train and certify individuals. Following detail and description, this is the effectiveness of PAD. I was introduced to PAD through school. They saw the need. This is some feedbacks I got from members of my community. My son said, "Mom, it sends me to school. I can't be absent from school one day. Mom, sometimes I'm tired of school, but you always say, you're the palm part, so you have to go because me no want to take you off." It buy me ice cream, biscuit, and bag juice. Miss Merle said, "It helps me to buy foodstuff as my husband is blind, the one place, and it fill a gap." Michelle said, "Due to traveling expenses, it helps me with the lunches at school. The children are on PAD, so they get free lunches." Ms. Sharon says, "Good people help people by employing skills needed in decision-making so we get the best value." And me know, it changes people's life. PAD beneficiaries are cultural ambassadors. PAD has the love of their people and country at heart. They interact with all levels and all classes of people, whether it be middle class, the vulnerable. PAD represents hopes and dreams, aspiration. Big up Miss Madaraj, Dr. Carlin Miller-Thompson, and Miss Blair. They are my mentors. Thank you for coping with me. God bless you. PAD on a path to transformation.
Thank you so much for that, Monique Blair Manning. The lady came with her presentation. I don't know if you realize she also got feedback from other PATH beneficiaries. So coordinated. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for that. It really is wonderful to hear from those who have been impacted. Now, as I know you've heard, we've mentioned it a couple of times, the government has made a commitment to reform the PATH program to make it better so that it can support families more effectively. The directive came from the Prime Minister himself, and the man that has been tasked to lead that reform process is the Minister of Labour and Social Security, the Honourable Pernell Charles Jr., and he now comes to share with you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, I don't need this one. It's a good day. Let me firstly acknowledge our moderator, who continues to do an amazing job, and I think there's no one better fit, considering that she is herself a living testimony to the success that can come from these programs. Please give her a round of applause. And I want to acknowledge my permanent secretary, Mrs. Roberts Risden, as well as CTD Dare Williams, Miss Suzette Morris. Did Miss Morris stand up earlier? She didn't. Could you stand up, please? You see this tall lady here from my ministry. Give her a round of applause, no? Doing an amazing job herself. As well as the rest of the team, Mrs. Bolt Williams and others from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security that are here. We want to acknowledge, of course, our Reverend who blessed us earlier. My mayor, the newly minted mayor of Maypen, not a new councillor, but a new mayor. This is perhaps one of, if not your first, public. Is this your first? Wow. See there, Miss Gloria? This is the mayor's first public occasion outside of his office. Give him a round of applause, please. And I want to acknowledge, yeah, man. Yes, yes. So the mayor is now an ambassador for PATH. I saw a councillor walk in. Councillor from Yorktown. Yes? Yes? Stand up, no man. Right? Where's the councillor from Race Courses here? Yes, yes. And he's the youngest councillor in the parish. Youngest in the parish. Councillor from Mineral Heights is somewhere here. Mr. Colin Coke. I think I saw him. Yes? And I think we have a few more of the representatives. I saw Miss Marsha Curlew walking and others. But we want to say thank you to all of you leaders, community leaders and political representatives who are here, as well as representatives of the community organizations, as well as my colleagues from across ministries and agencies. I know that we have friends and colleagues from Poor Relief and other places that are here. So we want to welcome you all, members of the media, specially invited guests. Again, to you, a very, very good afternoon. I must tell you that I'm very proud, having listened to the beneficiaries. I don't know if you were watching the video as I was, Mr. Richardson, and let me also acknowledge my good friend, Sir Barrington, our education officer for the best region. What's that? So why all of you women defending Barrington, sir? Oh, what are going on here, sir? We'll have to find out what, we will speak, sir. Regional director. I know him for a long time, all right? So that's why. But yes, I'm so proud, Sir Richardson, when I listened to the video, because it's actually the first time that I had the time to really watch all of it. Last time, we did not play it until after, I thought. But just again to see the affirmation of the impact of these programs. And the reality, is that we know that PATH has made a difference. But it is our intention that despite that, we want to improve. And you can't have progress without change. So we are not afraid to open up the conversation and to say to Jamaica, come and talk to us. Tell us honestly and openly how you feel. What's going on? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it up? Is it down? Should it change? Tell us how we can improve PATH for you. And as I listened again to the testimonials a while ago, I must tell you, I am again moved because the testimonial from Savannah Hayes is telling you about the linkages in family. And when you listen to her, you see how much she loves her children and grandchildren. You know, stop talking about them. And the fact that they're able to get that support is so important to her. And I'm proud of our young ambassador who spoke after her. And it resonated to me that, the reality is there are some good things happening in this country. Despite the fact that we like to latch on only to the negative, there is more good taking place than we want to acknowledge at times. And I want to use the opportunity before I get into the substance of my presentation to say thank you to the beneficiaries of PATH who made it here today. We have a full house for Clarendon. And it is a representation of the support that you give to the program. And it is a reflection of your desire to see better for those who are in your family, in your community, and for the other persons who may have to come and rely on the program. And I don't take for granted because you could be elsewhere. And many others chose to be elsewhere. So those of you who are here, a big thank you to you. We want to say to you that we appreciate that you have taken the time to be here. This PATH program, as you heard, is the Ministry of Labour and Social Security and the government's flagship program when it comes on to delivering this service in terms of public welfare relief. This is the program, the critical program that is focused on improving the lives and giving support to the most vulnerable families in our country. What an important responsibility. Because if you understand, to be a leader, to be serving in government, wherever, in whatever role, our primary focus is on serving and helping those who need it the most. And this PATH program is touching the lives of more than 285,000 individuals, over 100,000 families in your country getting support, whether it is support through the bi-monthly grant or tertiary grant or entrepreneurial grant or support in terms of just going to school and getting the school feeding program support. Whatever it is helping you to achieve your goal. And so the Prime Minister has said to me last year when he asked me to serve in this ministry that one of the responsibilities for you, Pernell, is to make sure that you transform the processes. This ministry is critical, and we want you to make sure that it is transformed. So today, this PATH Town Hall is focused on what? What's the word? Transformation. I've left the clicker, apparently. So I'll give you a little insight into what's happening right now. You see these ladies right here? They're the ones who wrote a nice speech and they put up a nice PowerPoint. And like every bad student, we don't use the speech and we don't use the PowerPoint. So I'm going to try my best to see if I can finally use it for once. Okay. So the focus for us is to make sure that this program is to help those who are most vulnerable get the opportunity to improve. And the reason is because we want an equitable society. We want a society where everybody has the opportunity to be better. Not just the fact that if you are born there means that you can be successful. But regardless of where you are born or what circumstances you are born in, you can be successful in Jamaica because we are here to give you support to rise above those circumstances. Everybody understand me? Amen? All right. And, of course, one of our responsibilities is to protect the most vulnerable citizens in our country. And that is why our Prime Minister has asked for us to engage in this overhaul of path. And what do I mean when I say overhaul of path? What it means is that we are here to challenge the system, to make sure that we interrogate the system, to examine it. When your son or daughter come to you and say, listen, I do the homework, you don't just take it so. You're supposed to take it and look on it. That's how it goes. Right? And sometimes they might do the homework, but one little question might be wrong. And you can say, but look at this. 1 + 1 and a 10. How school you go? And they go back and they can read it for themselves and look at it and make the edits. Am I correct? And so there's always need for us to examine what we're doing to see if there's anything we can change, anything that we can continue to do, anything that we need to get more partnership for. The goal is to make sure that the program is strong and sensible so it is helping you. And why is it so? The reality is that our goal is to ensure that every path beneficiary can end up like those who we have on the video. Standing up on their own 2 feet. Having economic independence and social mobility. Which means that, like me, my father would tell me consistently, even though my grandmother tells me say it's not true all the time, that he used to walk to school barefoot. Yes. And when I left high school is when he was starting high school. So every generation is supposed to have a certain energy and motivation to make sure that the next generation is better. You're not supposed to be comfortable sitting down and saying, well, I did it this way, so you must do it that way. No, I did it this way, you must find a better way to do it. That's the Jamaica we want. That's what we're talking about in terms of the strategic changes to take place in the PATH program. We want the program to be more responsive, which means if you have a problem, we don't want you to have to wait 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. We want the program to be effective, which means the program must meet your needs. And we want the program to be progressive. You listen to our permanent secretary. And I know it is difficult to believe Mayor Williams, but she was working when the program had just started at the ministry, 23 years ago. She looks like she's about 23 years old. But she was there at the inception of these programs. And she will tell you, as will CTD Dear Williams, that in 20 years, if the program has not changed to fit the developing needs of the people, you have a problem. Because where we were 20 years ago is not where we are today. Am I correct? Amen. So, we are looking to make sure that we can assist the approximately 285,000 beneficiaries and the 128,000 families that are on path to be in better positions. of the 285,000 that we have on PATH, 65% are children. That's a significant amount of support going to our children because they need that support the most. And of the families, who are the most vulnerable in the families? Who are the most vulnerable in the families? Our children. Right? And the elderly. And that's why it goes back to the next largest batch getting support is our elderly. So, as we discuss the issues relating to change and improvement, we are not just talking about these things and pulling ideas out of thin air. What we have done is we rely on information and data. And so, in 2021, what we call a tracer study was done, which assisted us in examining the information on relating to the PATH program. And that tracer study, Ms. Smith, confirmed that beneficiaries of PATH have better economic well-being than their household of origin, meaning that if you are a student on PATH, you have a higher likelihood, Reverend, of being economically successful and independent. It also confirmed that the PATH program did give significant support and assistance in terms of improving the educational level of the majority of children that were on PATH. And you heard it. If you are on PATH, you have to go to school. And sometimes we need people to ensure that we do what we have to do for ourselves. Am I correct? That's right. Now, in all of that, we are here today because we acknowledge that there are challenges with PATH. We acknowledge that there is a need for us to look on those challenges if we are going to achieve the transformation that we speak about. And as we move towards that, how are we approaching it? That's the question. It is our intention to have these stakeholder engagements. You are stakeholders, and the other groups across government are stakeholders, like the Social Development Commission, Poor Relief, other agencies across government, health clinics, educational institutions, all are stakeholders in terms of persons who are important for us to hear from, but none more important than you, our beneficiaries, past, present, and to come. And so we are holding these engagements to give you a chance to talk to us, to give you a chance to be informed by us, and for us to be able to receive what you are saying, write it down, and it will help us in determining what will be the new path. And to do so, we have defined two technical working groups. One of the technical working groups will be reviewing and providing recommendations just based on the technical design of path. And the other technical working group is going to be focusing now on providing strategic guidance after reassessing the general rules that relate to path, meaning the rules as you know. Should it be mandatory for a student to go to school to get path? Should it be mandatory for a pregnant lady to have to go to the clinic? These are rules. So these are the things that the technical working group will be looking on and assessing. Once that is done, the intention is to put together what we call a steering committee. And it literally means steering, because that committee is going to take all of the information that Ms. Suzette Morris and the other experts will look on and examine and determine what is the next step for path for you. Now, what are some of the challenges that we have identified? And I'll give you an opportunity, of course, to speak. But I want you to know that we have been listening, not just today, but for 1 year. Myself, my Minister of State, Minister Dunn, Permanent Secretary and team have traveled across every single parish office in this country. And I just saw Miss Mirage from my office as well. And we have spoken to our staff, we have engaged them, we have listened to them, we have spoken to clients who are there, waiting to get onto path, waiting to get evaluated. And we have learned from them some of the issues that they have had. They've identified issues with the selection process, Mr. Leon. They have said to us that this BIS system that you utilize, it needs refining. Because why is it that my sister come and sit down in front of you and she get on part, and once she asks and answer the question, the system says she eligible, but the same system tells me I'm not eligible? Not my sister, no, your sister. But that's the question. What is it that caused her to get on and me not to get on? And that is the evaluation system, the process of selection. The next thing is the monitoring and evaluation of path. So if I don't get on, what's the time that I should expect for verification if I do, and for assessment if I am not on? And how are we monitoring and evaluating the process itself? The next thing is the technology that is utilized in operating the PATH program. And these are things, again, that we have heard not just from clients who are you, but also from our staff. And I want to tell you, can I use the time? Just 2 seconds. Because Ms. Stacy is pulling my shirt. The politician talk long. Soon finish. Our staff across the country is excited about the improvement of path. More than you, they challenge me as minister. Some of them write me, WhatsApp me, email me to tell me that things must change. That the path program has to improve. Not you, I'm talking about the staff. So sometimes you sit down in front of them and you're quarreling with them. And they want it to be better as well. So I want to tell you, we have to now say thank you to those staff members. Clarendon is here. Where's Mr. Green? Mr. Green? He's probably outside working. Mr. Green and Miss Blair are here. I want to say thank you to the staff members who are doing the work. And yes, don't get me wrong, there's need for improvement. There's need for improvement in how we engage. And I know that this is something which I've heard also from clients, and that is a part of what has to be changed as well. Amen? All right, let me close off quickly. So, again, in terms of the new developments, it is our intention that we will have, at the end of this process, a sustainable and effective path. It is our intention that we will be able to develop partnerships. And I don't want to make the announcement now. I'm very excited about this, but I'm not going to announce it yet. It will come at some later date. Why I see the two of you looking at each other? What? Please, watch it. PS and CTD. We are in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security going to be launching a program that will provide support for PATH as well in terms of developing strong partnerships. And what do I mean? I mean partnerships with companies that can help us, partnerships with the private sector, so that if we're giving support to our beneficiaries, we can give more support to our beneficiaries. You want that? Yes, amen. And lastly, in conclusion, we are ensuring that, firstly, we provide substantive support for vulnerable Jamaican families. And I'm going to tell you this quickly. You know, the measure of a man is not where he stands in times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. And it is incumbent on us to make sure that we are not keeping people down, but rather that we stretch and lift. Because you never know when tables will turn. You might be here today looking down on somebody who is on path, and that same student become the surgeon that saved your life in 10 years. So we are going to transform the thinking around the program so people understand that this is about a better Jamaica. We're going to break the cycle of generational poverty, and we are going to chart a new path. All of these things require your support, your participation, your contribution. So as I close again, I want to say quickly, thank you so much to those of you who have made it here today, to those who are online watching and listening to us. And I am very, very interested in hearing your feedback today and beyond so we can improve this program. One love. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Minister. And I know we are all eager to hear from the beneficiaries and members of the community. That feedback is critical. Our participants here in the room and online will have an opportunity to share their ideas and to give feedback. We are going to have a question and answer segment momentarily, and that's where you'll get to ask the questions and share your thoughts and ideas. If you're a PATH beneficiary, tell us, how is the program working for you? What do you believe can be improved? We are also hearing from persons who are online, and Tess and the team, I'm going to lean in on you to share if you do see comments and questions from the online audience. We will start off this segment, however, with a little bit of a discussion, and we'll continue to check in with our online audience, and then I will let you know for the persons seated here in the St. Gabriel's Anglican Church Hall when it is time for you to walk up to the microphone. There is a microphone on a mic stand in that center aisle, so I'll let you know when we are open for questions. So I'm going to start off with you, Minister, just to kind of get the conversation going. This is an obvious one, but I think it's important to set the context as the conversation begins. Why is PATH so important at a time when Jamaica, based on the numbers, of course, is doing so well? We hear about the unprecedented levels of investor interest, the positive economic environment. We are on target to reduce our debt to GDP ratio, which is huge, by the way, to 74%. Record low unemployment. Why is it so important when all of those things are happening for us to focus our attention on PATH?
Thank you for the question. Let me start by saying quickly, yesterday, listening to the Minister of Finance and Public Service, I was inspired, even as a fellow minister, when I look on the journey of this beloved country, Jamaica. From independence, through all the challenges that we have had, to where we are now with macroeconomic indicators that are positive, where the world is looking on and saying you're doing something right in how you are shaping your house. But the persons who occupy the house are more important than how good the house looks. And so what we are trying to get across as a government, is that yes, we are proud of the historic low unemployment, 4.2. Yes, we're proud that we could increase minimum wage and increase pension benefits again yesterday, and 7 or so straight years of no new taxes. But what is most critical in all of that is how does it impact the people? And among all of us who are here in Jamaica, there is a group that will not be able to feel the positive benefits of all of those things immediately. That most vulnerable group, which is right here. That is why the Prime Minister has said, while we're doing all of these big things, we're not going to forget the bigger things, the more important things, which is to make sure that the support we are providing on the ground that will impact that little boy and girl is provided at the best, most efficient, most effective way possible. That is why we are transforming, that is why we are examining, that is why we at the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, we are the people's ministry. That's why we take this seriously. That is why it is so critical to do this now, so that as we grow Jamaica, as we look towards continuing to grow Jamaica, that growth is sustainable, and it can only be sustainable if we leave no one behind.
Thank you so much for that. It really does put it all in context. Minister, you shared in your presentation earlier, I thought the vision was well put in terms of where you see path going and what you want to achieve. Do you have a particular timeline in terms of when we'll begin to see the changes that you envision?
Well, we are hoping that we'll be able to finish our engagements. We're doing a number of large town halls like this and smaller engagements. Our technical working group is also to initiate its work, and we're hoping that that will be finalized by the end of this calendar year. So that moving into the third and final quarter of the financial year, we will be able to have a firm understanding of what the new look path ought to be. I think it is important to note that the transformation has already started. The minute we started our engagements across the parish offices, we started to listen, we started to tweak, we started to improve. And it is our intention that we not wait until everything is completed before we start to implement some of the more, I would say, realistic and practical adjustments which have to be made in order for us to have a program that's going to be effective. So we've started that, and it is our hope, as I said to you, that by next year this time, we'll have the new look, rebranded, completed path on the ground and rolling.
Thank you so much for that. In the Finance Minister's presentation yesterday, he mentioned that there will be increases in support. Can you share a little bit of detail on that, as much detail as you have?
So in the allocation to the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, we've seen a 28.8%, call it 30% increase in the allocation for PATH, moving us upwards of $10 billion. For the first time. $10 billion for PATH. I expected a clap for that one.
Yes, indeed.
10 billion with a B. And, you know, I put it in context. The reality is that the government is recognizing that despite all of the great things, it's still not easy. And so if we mean business, if we're serious about ensuring that the bigger, more important issues are taken care of, like our PATH program, then we have to put our money where our mouth is. And so we have seen this 30% increase, and this is also complemented by a more than 120% increase in social pension for our seniors who are over the age of 75, who might be graduating from PATH into that program. So it's a number of things that we have done this year to really show and represent that we are serious about allocating and investing our time and our money and our effort into ensuring that the most vulnerable in our country are given the support they need.
Minister, you mentioned a 30%, 28.8%, almost 30% increase in that allocation. Do you yet have any thoughts or ideas on how that will cascade down, how that will trickle down to the regular beneficiaries? Is it automatic that their portion is going to be 30% more? Is that a reasonable expectation at this time?
Well, I'm going to leave the technical aspect of it to our technical expert. But the reality is that our hope, let me not say hope, that's right. The intention is that we will be able to increase the benefit and to ensure that it realizes the current needs of our beneficiaries. Let me put it that way.
Any thoughts from you, PS, Roberts Risden, on that particular point?
Well, what I will say is, I'm not going to get any specifics, but I think in a matter of months, our beneficiaries will be very happy with the increases that will come. We're working out those final numbers, and I think it would be a bit premature. But suffice it to say, our beneficiaries will see an increase in another few months in the year.
Thank you for that, PS. The journalist in me would not allow me not to ask the question. I want to stay with you for a little bit. We were looking earlier at the minister's presentation, focused on the groups that are beneficiaries. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the individual groups that actually benefit on the path?
Well, first and foremost, I would say that beginning with families who are vulnerable, the first criteria to be eligible for PATH is really your economic status, whether or not you're deemed to be poor, the family. Now, within the family, when we calculate how much monies the family gets, it's based on how the families, who is in the family, right? So we look at the children from birth up to the end of high school. We look at the women who may be pregnant and lactating, the elderly, persons with disabilities, and those are the main groups within the family who we deem to be the most vulnerable. Because, you know, when you have a pregnant and lactating woman, we want to ensure that we're providing that additional financial support to her and the unborn child. And of course, once a child is born, that child can be added and receive, the family can receive a benefit for that child. So those are the groups. And of course, Minister mentioned the elderly, very important group for us. And 2 years ago, 2 years ago, yes, we introduced the social pension program that even though the elderly on path for us is from 60, but when persons reach 75, they transition to the social pension program that provides even greater benefits for the elderly.
Thank you so very much for that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are opening the floor for questions now that we've established some information that we can actually go into that broader conversation. You're invited to walk up to that microphone that's in the center aisle, and you can form a line, and once you walk up to the microphone, wait to be acknowledged, say your name, the community you're coming from, or your organization, and you can proceed with your questions. We also want to facilitate questions coming from our online audience as far as is possible, reminding you that we are streaming on the social pages and YouTube channel. of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, as well as the Jamaica Information Service. So you can go ahead, for persons online, you can pose your questions there, and we will try to incorporate them as far as possible. I do see there is someone, a couple of persons. The lady in red was first, so you can start a queue, so we can just move the conversation along quickly. As I said, say your name, the community you're from, or the organization that you are with or that you represent, and then you can go ahead and ask your question. All right? You may go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone.
If you could come closer to the microphone so we're able to hear you properly.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angelita Thomas. I'm from the community of Rectuland, Buckner. I represent the Buckner community, the Buckner Concerned Citizen Benevolent Society. I'm the PRO there, and so I have two questions from there. But before I ask the question, I must say that I too is a beneficiary of the PATH program, because having 6 boys, and you know that goes, and so I went on the program, I think from it started, because my son that was on it is now, I think 32, so I was on the program from it started, and it had helped me with my boys through school, and you know, 3 of my sons went to university. As a matter of fact, my 3 boys were at university all at once because they are so near in age, and so they caught each other there, and 2 of them did medicine, so you know that's a 5 years, so they were there for a long time, and I'm so grateful for that $100,000 that the UE student got to help, and other benefit. And as Ms. Blair said, the grant that you get when you apply for a student loan, the boys got those grants as well, and it really did help. And now I have 2 sons that are doctors, and my 5th child went back, yes, because they graduate, 2 of them graduate 2020 in the height of the pandemic, 1 graduate 2021, and so 1 went back to do his master's, and I'm proud to say that he graduates this November 3rd with his master's, and he's now employed in the ministry, of course. And so I'm happy for PATH, and all those times that I went to the post office, I would have to stand up and bungle up, and persons used to look at me, well, I can say, look at me now. My kids
excellent,
you know,
excellent.
came out from it, so I'm very grateful for that. So as a PRO in my organization, sometimes persons would come and ask questions. 2 frequent one is that persons that have the card, when it expires, it takes a long time, sometime a year, yes, before they get it back. And in between that time, sometimes they don't get any benefit. Or those benefits that are missed, they don't get them back, and it takes a very long time. The next one is that persons are saying that when the visit to the home, it takes very long for them to come, and sometimes when they come and you're not there, because, I mean, we are grateful for the part, but we have to work, right? So persons may not be at home, and so when they come and they're not there, they take a long, long, long time to come back. Even when persons said, you can come Sunday or Monday, I'll make myself available. It takes a long time. So those are the 2 questions that I got from my community to ask this afternoon.
Thank you so very much for that. Before you go, do you have any suggestions? I mean, in your group, when you have the conversations, has anyone, given any ideas, especially as you talk about the card or those visits, any thoughts on how the ministry could approach it?
Well, yes, my personal thoughts are that persons could make a little appointment and make themselves available, that when the part officials come, they will not miss persons. That's one. For the card, I think it should be more effective, like when the card expires, because the card will save time, because not everybody have the time to really go out there and stand up in line. And I must say that it has improved, Because before, you have to stand at one place, 100 and odd persons, and that's one day there. Because when you go, the persons that are handing out the monies, they don't put the part persons first because they're also doing, their bill business, bill payment, and they'll always put the part persons back. So you have to be there, persons from 4 o'clock, and, just to be in front, and you're not leaving until the place closes. So I'm glad for the improvement. I'm not seeing much of that now. So more places are paying out part, and so that's a big improvement. And so I think more persons would be interested in getting the card because you can pull the money day or night. But because of the ineffectiveness of the card, because as soon as they expire, you're off, basically that. So they could improve that, make it more, quicker for persons to get back their card, and that's my suggestions.
Thank you so much for that. Making those appointments. P.S., any response to that?
Yes, I'm listening very keenly. The card is a challenge, and we are looking at alternative payment methods. And during the pandemic, we started using some pay agents, such as Paymaster and Bill Express. Some of you would be collecting your benefits through them. But we're looking as well as paying the path directly into your bank account. And that's the next step that we're moving towards. We actually were looking at some card solutions, to be honest, but I'll be very, very honest with you. Hearing some of the complaints with the current card that we have, I wonder if that is something we need to rethink and encourage all of our beneficiaries to get their bank accounts, anyone who doesn't have a bank account to get a bank account. So when we're ready, when our system is ready, we can get your bank account information and transfer the monies there. So those are some of the things that we're looking at to address the payment and the card issue. I like your suggestion about making appointments, and we're going to take it on board and see how we can incorporate that in how the social workers function. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for that. That was a very good one. Before we go to the next person at the microphone, I'd like to acknowledge Carlene Benjamin, the counselor from Palmer's Cross. Good afternoon to you. All righty. There is another lady going towards the microphone. You can go ahead and say your name, the community you're from, and give your comment, suggestion, or question.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Honorable Minister and those distinguished personnel in the House.
Can you come closer to the microphone?
Close enough.
Go ahead.
Hear me enough? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lilette Royal Wright, Principal of Simon Primary and Infant School. I'd like to acknowledge my director here and my colleagues who are here. As an educational institution, we benefit from PATH through the feeding program for the students. However, we are having a problem. I'm happy, Minister, that there's an increase. We are hoping that some of that increase will come into the schools to feed the children. With the rise in prices, many of us as educators owe our suppliers. It's a good thing we have a good relationship with them. Secondly, we are having a severe problem with the delivery of the Nutri-products. On Monday at 10:45, one of my principal colleagues called me to say, Miss, we have the Nutri-products for Simon, Mitchellsville, and Rock River. She's on this side. We are on that side up in the hills. The nutrition product person, I understand from the feeding unit, are paid to deliver the nutrition products to the schools. We have to pay taxes to collect the nutrition products from the schools down here to go up to ours. When they are left at Rock River, I have to collect on my way to work. My other colleague has to collect on her way to work. We are not paid to do that. Secondly, sometimes they come 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm suggesting if there's a shortage of trucks to deliver, contract some persons and assign them to the rural schools and let them come at a time when somebody's there to collect, because it is really outrunning. The children are hungry. If they're hungry, they cannot learn, and we are at a loss in feeding them. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Principal Wright. Any thoughts?
Mrs. Wright? Mrs. Royal, right?
Yes, my MP.
Yes. It's good to see you.
I'm from Palmer's Cross, you see.
Yeah, but you know that I'm connected to Simon.
Yes, I know. Thank you very much for your support.
And, you know, one of my most memorable experiences as a minister comes from Simon when I was at National Security.
Yes.
And we were able to have our inmates build
those desks that we are still enjoying.
And go up there and give to the students. It's the first time I saw an inmate cry. Just to know the impact he had on it. But anyhow, thank you for your years of service.
Thank you,
thank you for your question. Thank you for your concerns. Even though the Ministry of Labor and Social Security is not the one that operates that feeding program, we collaborate with the Ministry of Education and Youth, as you know, but it is primarily the Ministry of Education, so Mr. Richardson and the team, that operate that part of it. However, we are all one government and we're one team. So we intend, in short order, to have meetings with the Ministry of Education and Youth, as well as the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And this is a matter that we will bring up with them. We'll raise the issues as you have to see how together we can either define a solution or make some changes, whichever one has to be.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the comment.
There is a line here. Just take note and just join that queue so that we can keep the questions coming. You may go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Stacey and Smith.
Good afternoon.
I've seen you on TV, Jane. It's a pleasure to see you face to face. Likewise, Mr. Charles. Anyways, from the inception of PATH, a question that really came to me is when or will it be possible for PATH to be every month instead of every 2 months? The next thing I have to say is that when I heard about PATH, I was questioning whether I should be a part of PATH. I said, okay, of course, because I'm a Jamaican, and I should be a part of it as well. Anyways, my 2 children, thank God, has been on the PATH program. My son has achieved level 2 in electrical installation. My daughter is now going to nursing school. And before that, I was able to be on a PATH program when I was studying with art, of course. And out of that, probably, I have achieved levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I really thank God for that. So it's a pleasure. And I said it's nothing that we might have to feel cute about, because this is Jamaica land we love. And anything that is legal, I think we should want to be a part of it.
Thank you so very much for that question, Minister.
Sometimes I'm asked a question, Stacey Ann. Minister, all these things that you're talking about, these whole macroeconomic and all of these words, how does it impact me? So when you're talking about all these big numbers, how does it impact me? This is how it impacts you. When we have a stronger economy, we are able to provide more support for PATH. And as we grow the economy, we are going to be able to take on the consideration that you said a while ago of moving by monthly to monthly, if that is what the assessment says we should do. But we can't even think about it until we have the money. Because to move to monthly would mean increasing from 10 billion to 20 billion. So the money would have to be found. That is how the strength of the economy impacts the social fabric of our country. So we have to grow Jamaica so that we can start to look on providing more benefits to those who need it the most. And maybe the bi-monthly can move to monthly at some point in time in the future. But I'm glad you raised it, because it is something that we are going to have to put now on the table when we discuss with the Ministry of Finance and Public Service what the future of PATH will be, whether it is next year or the years beyond. So thank you very much.
Next question.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tanisha Manning. I'm from the Osborne Store community. On behalf of all PATH beneficiaries, I want to say thank you, and we look forward for the increase. Anyways. All right, so my first thing today that I want to speak about is the difficulty to be on PATH. It's like sometimes it's practically impossible, because if I have a washing machine, I'm afraid for the persons to come at my home to verify if I can be on PATH. That's one of the main things. If I have an inside bathroom, I'm worried about persons coming to verify. And we want to know that we're trying to elevate ourselves and still be eligible, because our day-to-day living can cause us to want to be on PATH. My mother asked me to ask, when they do come around to do the verification and say that you are eligible to be on PATH, you don't get the call for a very long time again. And that's one of the other problem. Another thing, I just want to put them together very quickly. Another thing is, probably it's the amount of money that the schools get, but once parents said that the school only provide lunch for 2 days, and for the money to be provided every 2 months, and then school is only providing lunches for 2 days, then it's just not feasible. Another thing is the students that are on PATH are sometimes looked down on, and also it is the way that it is done, because these are the students that are being asked to take plates to school, and most times the foods are prepared different. So as you see the lunch, you know that this is a PATH lunch. And that sometimes, whilst me as an adult can endure, it's hard for the children. That's it for me. Well, some schools.
I hear the crowd responding to you. The audience is saying, say some.
Right.
Because not all schools have that kind of situation. What's your name?
Tanisha Manning.
Tanisha, you know, what you have said is important. And I'm gonna treat with the last thing, and then PS can deal with the first two matters. And it is important because regardless of the fact that some schools don't do that.
Happy to get you to stand, sir.
I'm going to leave that one alone. But I always stand at attention.
Okay.
Regardless of whether some schools are doing it, if there is even one school that is off track, then it's an issue. Because what we want is to have the standard being at the place that we want for all children. With no child in Jamaica should be on PATH and feel lesser than. And I'm telling you that I have heard those stories. Matter of fact, in my sojourn, I have had the opportunity to speak to a PATH beneficiary who went to 2 different schools. And what that PATH beneficiary said to me is that the experience at one school was so different than the other, because of exactly what you said a while ago. So when we speak to the Ministry of Education and Youth, we are going to have to work out now, Mr. Richardson, when we dig down into some of these issues, how we can make sure that there is a standard across the board, that no matter what school you go to, you are receiving the kind of treatment that a path beneficiary is deserving of. So I want to thank you for that comment, because even though you drew the ire of some of the audience members, it is important, and it's going to help us to make sure that we're getting it right. All right? Moving on to the other two.
Just before you do PS, Mr. Richardson, it may be useful for you to speak with Tanisha offline and find out exactly which school, so you can start a conversation with the leadership.
And also to say, Mr. Richardson, I was just WhatsApping you, because, let me see if you responded. No. My understanding, Tanisha,
Yes, sir.
is that for the Ministry of Education, it is every day. Isn't it every day? You know what? Let me leave what is not mine alone. Mr. Richardson will speak to you off air. But in terms of the delivery of that lunch, that is something, Mr. Richardson, that we will have to speak about as well. Because I believe that what you said a while ago, that's an issue with that particular school.
PS?
Yes, thank you very much. But you know, Minister, we have made significant improvements in school feeding over the years. I think some of you who have been on path for a while can attest to that. So even though I'm not the Ministry of Education, I do know, Minister, that over time we have worked with the ministry and there has been improvements in the school feeding. So we'll continue the conversation with education to improve. You spoke about the selection criteria, right? And for fear that you have a washing machine or, I don't remember what else you said, an inside bathroom, and you may not qualify for PATH. So I'm going to explain two things to you. And one thing is, the selection criteria for PATH doesn't look at any one criteria to determine whether or not you qualify. So having an indoor toilet or having a washing machine in and of itself does not exclude you. So what the selection criteria does, it looks at all the responses to the questions, and it's an algorithm run in the computer in the background, and I can't tell you exactly how it works, but I have a fairly good idea how it works. And so it looks at all the information that you have provided to say what is the likelihood, based on the responses of this person or this family being in need, right? And so it says, yes, this family is in need. The family may be a large family with lots of children, or you might have elderly, or you might live in poor housing conditions. So there are a number of things that goes into the mix. So what I want to say is, fear not. It is not any one thing that will disallow you. I can tell you one thing that may disallow you, though. Where is the proud mother of 2 doctors? The proud mother of 2 doctors. Your sons can't qualify for PATH. And you're glad, right? Exactly. So I can tell you that if her sons went and applied, they would not qualify, right? Because of the information that they would have provided. Now, the second thing I wanted to say is, so we have a selection criteria now, but we are truly revisiting it to see what adjustments can be made to make persons not be as fearful. All right? But I will tell you, though, that back in the day, some 20-something years ago, those of you who knew food stamp, the criteria to be included in food stamp at some times was questionable. And there were, I see you nodding, so you know what I'm talking about. It was questionable because people felt it was who they knew could get them on. Now, we have gone so far that who you know can't get you on. And it is so objective that we now have complaints, right? So we have to fix it. So we're re-looking it to see what else should we be using to identify genuinely those who are poor and in need of the support. Thank you.
Thank you for that, PS. Next question.
Good afternoon. My name is Natisha Bent, Guidance Counselor for Rock Primary and Infants. I was about to ask the same question that the lady in front of me asked, because a father today approached me, a single father, 3 children, and after having the session, he said to me, Miss, how can I get on path? And I said, okay, I'm going to look into it for you. And he said, because I was told that I'm not eligible because of the house that I live in. And another parent would have said, you know, I've been hearing this thing over the years of not being eligible because you have an inside toilet, just the same thing as she said. So as guidance counselors, we need that guidance to guide our parents as to the way forward. And even for myself, when I would ask a member from the PATH office, she would say the same thing, that, you know, questions are asked and then the computer would generate. But I know, which I would teach in guidance session, what you put in is what you get out. So if we want to get a better feedback to the questions that are asked, we have to adjust the questions that would fit the needs of the people. So that's a question and a suggestion in one. The next one is the path list that we as guidance counselors would have gotten at the school that is not reflecting the students that are actually at the school in numbers. And maybe that's one of the challenges schools are having as it relates to preparation of lunch. So for example, if I get a path list with 200 students on it, my school will have at least 300 students on path. How do I account for that 100 students that is not on the path list that is given? What I did is I added the extra names and I attached it to the path list. Nothing was done. The next time the list came, it came with different names, just the same. And when I asked, because I queried it and I was told that the system, and then when it goes to Kingston, so the blame was trickled up to Kingston, and the system not working properly. And I keep asking the questions, and what are we to do at the schools? Because we're literally providing food for more students that PATH is paying for, and it is actually causing an issue for the economy for the schools. So that is one main question that I have that I would love to be addressed.
Any thoughts that you have on how that could be addressed?
All right, so I go back to the part where I said what we put in is what we get out. So it really goes down to because I went and I said I took the initiative of adding an extra list, wrote that list of the students that are not on path to give you a reflection of what it is that we are facing. So these students are not on the list, so we're not getting paid for them. And then nothing was done about it. And when I asked, I was told it was about the system. So if it's a system that really generates the data for you guys as it relates to the students that you have on path, then we need to find someone to electronically add these names after verifying, because the names would have been in your system. If this student is in fact on path, you would have added it in your system. So if our guidance counselor would have gone ahead to add a list, you could at least go through the list, verify the list to see if these students are actually on path that is at the school, and make some attempt to really add it to the system, that we can start reflecting these students in the system, that we can get paid for them. Because in fact, we're not getting paid for them. We only get paid for what you send us on the path list.
What an excellent guidance counselor. I'm so proud when I hear the comments, particularly from our teachers, and even in Brownstone, if you remember, it's an issue that was raised by another guidance counselor there. And as I explained to her, I'll tell you, firstly, I want to invite you to meet with the team right after you've finished your question, so that we can get your name and your number, and be able to speak to you further or invite you to the meeting that we are going to have to discuss how we can reconcile the issues between the list and what is the reality at the school. It's an issue that is not just in this parish, it's across parishes, and it is something which we will have to fix in terms of adjusting the procedure. I like what you said a while ago, that was not brought up before, about creating a list of students who are benefiting from or who need the support, who are not on path. basically that's a simple way of identifying the need that we are not now attending to.
So it's not that what is happening is that they are benefiting because we give them lunch. They are on path because they brought their path verification list and we verify at the school that they are on path. However, they're not coming down on the path list. So we can do no better than give them the lunch. But then when we try to reach out to path to inform them that we also have these students to be added to the list, then it is ignored.
Who we are not paying for.
Or we are not being paid for.
I hear you. I see. So that's an issue which we're going to have to again, when it comes down to students, and I think at the next town hall, what we'll have to do is invite the Ministry of Education to sit in the panel, because what is clear is a lot of these issues they're between ministries. Because we're not the one that pay, we're the one that provide the list. But there's still need for us to reconcile between the two. So again, I'm going to invite you to just give us your information so we can get in touch with you and speak with you further. All right?
Okay. Good evening. My name is Stacey Fraser. I'm from Victoria, Thompson Town. I applied for the part from 22 until now. I don't hear them said they are. I'll do something, the interview, I'm only person. Then come on me yard and verify me already. And when I call up them, I say, they're not finished, do something there yet. Put me under the part, please. And 2022.
So, Mother, there are some persons outside from the Clarendon office, and I will ask you to speak with them, and after the session, I'm going to follow up with them to hear what was your issue.
Yes.
Because from 2022, we know in 2024, they came to verify you.
Yes, miss.
And you should be on the path by now.
Yes, miss.
All right?
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Good afternoon. My name is Paulette Hilton. I'm guidance counselor at Spalding Primary. My colleague earlier touched on one of the points that I have listed here, the disparity between the numbers of students that lunches are paid for from the PATH office and the number of students that are really on PATH. I must tell you that my students are proud beneficiaries of PATH. So there is no disparity in the meals that are provided for them, and they get a cooked meal every day, 5 days per week. The second point I'd like to raise is the planning of the Nutri products, the planning between the ministries, education and health. The sugar content in some of the products, horrific. There is a porridge mix that is maybe 75% sugar and 25% whatever else. We need more water. We're encouraging our children to drink water. And there are times when the buns or the muffins come and there is no water. Well, I can tell you, my students don't enjoy the porridge mix, so we don't take much of that. And we also need to be consistent with the texture of some of the products, because they are for PATH, but we want to know that they are the content is of such that they will enjoy it. We need also more milk juices, more of the milk, less of the porridge, water, water, water. And a recommendation that I'm making is for guidance counselors to play a greater role or a part in the recommendations for students on PATH. We do the home visits. We know where the needs are. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Guidance Counselor Hilton. Any thoughts, any responses, PS or Minister, to what Ms. Hilton shared?
No, just again, we are taking notes. And as I did before, I've asked all of the representatives and officials from the Ministry of Education, any one of our educational institutions, Ministry of Health and Wellness, to just share their contacts with us. The goal is for us to keep in touch with you so that we'll be able to learn from your experiences to improve the system. Let me welcome Mr. Michael Stern, who is the chairman of our hospital regional authority here in Clarendon.
You may go ahead with your question.
Good evening. My name is Kerika Da Silva. I'm from Maypen, One Cardet Drive. I'm a mother of 4 children. I'm applying for the part 17 years now and don't get it. I don't have a stable location, move all around, but each time I move, I try to apply for the part and still don't get it. I moved by Maypen 3 years ago and applied for the part. I have a 3-year-old baby, soon turned 4 this year. And I go to the part office and apply for the part. I apply for grant also because I'm not working and I still don't get it. So I want to know the reason why.
Well, it would be difficult for us to sit here and figure out why exactly you have not qualified. I'm going to ask you to speak with Miss Blair, and I'm going to encourage you that the next time they complete an application for you, for PATH, ensure you give them all the members of your household.
I do so up
You
to
do
last
that?
year.
Up to last year.
And they come by my house. When they come, I was sick. And Mr. Thompson, God bless him, he gave me a paper to go to Maypen Hospital, which I did. And I get some medication that I'm taking now. And until now, I don't hear anything about the part. My children, when him come by the house, none of the children wasn't going to school. I was trying to get my children them from part from there going to Freetown Primary. The principal at Freetown Primary died now. She's the one that write a letter to bring to the head office because they know my situation. And when I bring it to the head office, until now, they send some social worker at the house. At the time I was sleeping on the floor, me and my children them. Until this blessed moment, I've been following up over and over and over. Until now, I can't get no help.
All right. So, Miss Blair, where is Miss Blair? Miss Blair is outside. Find Miss Blair and speak with Miss Blair. And I will also speak with Miss Blair to find out what may be peculiar about your situation.
Thank you
All
very
right?
much.
Go ahead with your question, sir.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm from the East Corn Peace direction. I made an application for over 7 years now. I used to work on the Jamaica plant with contractors, and they draw all the deduction, but they did not turn over to any office. So I made, the first application I made, it goes on for maybe about 2 years or more. I didn't hear anything, so I go back. It seemed, I don't know if they throw it in trash or what. I go back. It was a JP who wrote the second application and gave it to me. And I think I have a visit in January, and they said that I should listen for a call to do an interview. I don't hear anything.
All right. So you worked with Jamalco, and you said they paid.
I work with the contractors.
Right, with the contractors, and they paid over deductions for you. So based on what you said, I am surmising that your situation may be in relation to national insurance. NIS?
NIS.
Are you applying for NIS? Are you a pensioner? You get your NIS pension?
No.
You don't get your NIS pension?
I don't reach 75 as yet.
No, you don't have to reach 75 to get your NIS. If you're retired and you reach 65, you can get your NIS, National Insurance Pension.
Okay.
So you said they paid over deductions?
Yes.
And if they paid over deductions and you have enough deductions paid over, then you would qualify for a national insurance pension benefit, old age benefit.
No, when I check NIS, there was nothing there. Housing trust, there was nothing there.
Oh, because you said...
Education tax, there was nothing there.
All right, because you said they paid over everything for you.
The contractor take the deduction.
Oh, they took the deductions from you but did not pay it over?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. But if you're not an NIS pensioner, then you can apply for PATH.
Yes,
so you have applied
yes.
and you haven't gotten through.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, you see that white tent out there?
Yeah.
Go and ask them. You want to know the reason and what you need to do. If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
73.
73. All right. The reason I ask is that when you reach 75, if you're not on NIS, you will be eligible for the social pension. And you heard Minister spoke earlier that there is going to be an increase in the social pension benefits in a matter of months as well.
Okay.
So, but unfortunately, you're not at 75 yet.
No.
So until then, it would be PATH. So please, the persons are outside, speak to them and see how they can help you.
I did so already.
Okay.
And they come to the house to do the visit, so I'm waiting for them to call me in the office.
Well, I'm sure it's going to work out.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Can I ask that persons who have specific questions that are unique to you, and actually somebody's gone out to the tent, PS, to bring a representative here so we can identify those persons who have specific situations that they need to address. You can give them your name and details. And then we allow for persons coming up to the microphone who have either general questions, and very important, remember those suggestions and recommendations that we talked about. If you have any of those, then you can share them. But if you have specific questions relating to you and your personal situation, somebody's coming in that you can speak to directly. All right, go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Anika Gray, and I am a PATH beneficiary. My daughter is also in university, who is also now benefiting from the PATH program. My question is because I went into the office and I asked a question and they couldn't give me an answer. So, but my last child is 4 years old, and I have been trying to get him on the PATH program he was in my tummy. And I did not get through with him on the PATH program. They said I have to do a re-registration. I did that and been checking all the time about it. And after I did the re-registration, they sent a letter to my house. I went down there, signed up the re-registration, and I was not getting anything for him. Even I went down there. It was last year, October, I went down there, and they said that I should sign what they call it, from 2018, and it was in October of last year that I signed the re-agreement with the PATH program. And then I started getting something for the child. I want to know why the processing takes so long. Because at the office they said they didn't really know. It is just a process. That's what they told me.
PS, any guidance for her?
Well, Suzette is down there. I'm going to ask Miss Morris if she can help. But what I do know, Minister, the re-registration. So we introduced a process some years ago, because those of you who are on PATH know that when you came on, we told you every 4 years we were going to do a re-registration, right? A reapplication. And that process was introduced about, I think, just before COVID. And then COVID came. So I'm not sure, and let me apologize to you for it taking so long, but I'm not sure if your situation got caught up in the whole COVID, because it was right just before COVID that we introduced this, and maybe your thing got caught up. But I'm happy to hear, because did I hear you say it has since been resolved?
Yes, just last year,
Okay.
last year.
So I'm happy to know that it has since been resolved.
Okay.
All right.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Anicia Stone. I'm from Beckford Crawl. But it's not really a question. It's like a thank you. I just want to say thank you to the PART program for helping me and my family, especially my disabled sister and brother. They help them a lot. Even my sister, she cannot walk. She's 28-year-old, and they stocked a little shop for her to sell and to do her little business. My mother signed up for my brother. He's burned from the waist to the foot, has no toe. But my mother signed up down there for him to get chicken, because he loves to raise chicken. But it has not yet come true for him. He's 24. But I hope it comes true for him. I have 3 children. It's only one on the park, but I just try to get the other 2. And I really appreciate what you guys are doing. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anicia. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. The part place at the
Can you come closer to the microphone?
When you go there and you start talk to them, the young girl, them have too much attitude, they don't have any manners to we. They need to change. You need to get a different work as them. And when they come out we yard and they see any little something where we have, they say we don't need of it. We don't need of the part. You need to get a different work as them.
Thank you for that comment.
Great afternoon, Minister, members of your team, Regional Director, and everyone in this room. Violet Thomas Thompson, President of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Infant and Primary School, Principal of Victoria Primary, Northwest Clarendon. Most of the questions that I would have asked were asked by my colleagues, and light was shed on my ignorance as it relates to why is it that we get $120 for lower school children and $150 for upper school children. And that parent who spoke about the disparity, we know that that is woefully inadequate to feed a child for the day. With the rising cost of living, woefully inadequate. But I know you will address it with the relevant parties. Now, I'm suggesting, and I may come under flack from some of my colleagues, but I think principals, guidance counselors are trusted persons, because if it is that you're short as it relates to human resource to verify these lists, we work with these children. We know the children in our communities that are in need. And if you ask us as principal to verify, we can empower us, empower the guidance counselors, allow us to help you to better help the children who are really in need. And I'm pledging that my colleagues will. I know some persons may say it's additional work, but I'm sure we will appreciate the benefit later when we're able to feed a child, because we know when a child is hungry, trust me, learning will not happen. Bless you.
Thank you for that, Ms. Violet.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, Minister or Regional Director. All good afternoon. Mrs. Dr. Carleen Miller-Thompson, and my colleague here, Mrs. Violet Thomas Thompson, she has just taken away the question that I wanted to ask and what I wanted to add also, because I'm saying that we're in the system with the students. We're there with the parents. We saw the need of what these children have. And we are there with them on a daily basis. Right now at our school, we have to be working to raising some funds to assist children that are not on path, and they are not coming to school on a regular basis because their parents cannot afford to send them to school every day. Sometimes in the morning, the parents will say, we're not sending them today because we don't have any lunch money for them, and we say, send them. We will find a way. So what we do, we take from our pockets, and we start an ice cream program. And what we do is we sell the ice cream and we see how many students we can give lunch and even break in the days from this little happening. So we are saying, we are in the system, we are there. Help us to help you to identify the needs of these children and help so that the vulnerable can be beneficial. Thank you.
So that suggestion coming in, Minister and PS, for there to be greater collaboration using the educators, persons in the school system on the ground to identify those who are in need, since they are there in the schools and they see the need. Thank you so very much for that. The lady at the back in the blue shirt, we are closing off the line after your question. So just letting other persons know, we do have personnel outside. The representatives from the ministry will be here for a little while longer, so you can ask individual questions or give feedback one-on-one, but we will close the line for questions after the lady at the back. Go ahead with your comments or suggestions.
Great afternoon to everyone. Let me commend the Ministry of Labor and Social Security for the work that you have been doing to help the needy and the vulnerable. I am the educational social worker out of the Ministry of Education for Region 7, and I work closely with the persons who work within the PATH program, especially in the Clarendon branch. But my concern and recommendation is for more collaboration, as our previous colleagues would have shared, to kind of strengthen the pace in which the processes are done. And I think that increase the human resources with the the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, more social workers, because I would have case studies where parents would have shared the need and would have applied, and returning to home visits upon home visits, they would have not have seen or visited by a social worker, given the fact that they have so many cases. We know that COVID-19 would have hit our country and it have affected our economic system in a great way, and we are still battling and struggling with having students getting back into the formal education system and focused on having a well-needed education, and financial challenge is one of that. And so we find that we have quite a few students who we are still trying to reintegrate, however, because of their financial challenge and also some other issues, it poses a challenge. But what the PATH program requires is a letter to say that they are in school in order for them to get some benefit. So if there's some consideration that can take place to help to strengthen the process or hasten the process, so that these children who are out of schools for some period and who are also struggling with special needs can get some benefit. My other concern, I would have also expressed it to Madam, and she was giving me a better understanding, is for our reintegration of school-age mothers. These are young ladies who have dropped out of school for some time, and migration too, because they would have been relocated from one community to the next. Some of these young ladies are not from homes that are benefiting from PATH. And what we find is that after dropping out, some of them did not go to the Women's Center, where there's a communication to liaison to them to get back in the system, and that helps to cause some challenges. And so what we find is that they're having challenges financially in maintaining their attendance at school. So for those students who dropped out, who are not from the homes of PATH beneficiary, we're asking for greater consideration, especially from our office, to help back those young girls and their child, because sometimes they are coming from homes that are not vulnerable, but because they get pregnant and drop out of school, it's like the help is minimal. So I'm saying, look into that to see how best you can strengthen that support that you have already been given, to help it to be more, so that our girls can finish school and finish well. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for that, and I think that greater collaboration will help to bring those cases to light. Before you ask your question, lady in the blue, we got, I have here one question that was posed on the YouTube channel of the ministry. So somebody's asking, She says, I need to know, this is Nicole Tomlinson, I need to know if PATH and Food for the Poor are under the same umbrella. And if not, can one person be on both? Food for the Poor, as we know, is...
So Food for the Poor is a non-governmental organization. But Food for the Poor is perhaps the primary NGO partner with several ministries of government. And so at times you find that persons often almost consider Food for the Poor to be a part of the government. But there is a distinction. Food for the Poor is an NGO, it's a private organization that works in partnership with PATH, with other ministries, and with several programs across government. So yes, you can benefit from Food for the Poor and be benefiting from a government program as well.
Thank you so much for that, Minister. Go ahead with your comment or suggestion.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dawnette Reed. I work with the Child Protection and Family Services Agency. I'm one of the field officers for Clarendon. All right, so I would just like to I missed most of the presentation. However, I would just like to reinforce what the guidance counselors are saying about more collaborative effort, empowering us who are out there in the fields, are seeing the need, because several times, me personally, I have referred several persons and the feedback is that they don't get through. And most of the times they're not given a valid reason as to why they don't get through. They say the system don't put them through, basically. And you know, as a children's officer out there, you go out there, you see a mother with 5 children, school-age children, and you are trying to help because we are just empowered to push them in the right direction so they can be referred to get the help that they need. And they're coming back to us. What do we do in a situation like that? So I'm saying, we're all governmental agencies. We are all short-staffed in some way or form. Liaise with us. Liaise with CPFSA. We have investigators out there. When we go out there and we see what's going on, we report in our referrals. Yes, we go to this home, it's a one-bedroom house. They're sleeping on a sponge. They don't have a fridge. They don't have a stove. We do that. We put it in our referrals. And they go to PATH, and they still do not get through. And this is the #1 social service that helps children out there. What do we do? And so there are persons out there who really and truly, they don't need it and they do get through.
So I want to say firstly to you and to all of the guidance counselors and the PATH beneficiaries that have commented around the selection process. This is why we are here. We hear your cry, and clearly we believe that there's an issue that requires consideration. So firstly, we are all in agreement that that selection process needs revision. That's the first thing. Secondly, while we are overhauling and revising and improving PATH, a question that was asked by Ms. Smith is, what are we doing now? And I want to encourage you to acquaint yourself with the appeals process that is available now. Meaning we don't have to wait until next year when we have a brand new system. There is a process now that allows you to ensure that those persons that did not make it through the preliminary evaluation can still be put forward to a committee to be evaluated to see whether or not they ought to be on PATH. And the reason why there's an appeals process is because even 23 years ago, or whenever the process started, it was anticipated that the BIS system would never ever be perfect. it would never ever capture all of who ought to be on the program. So I want to encourage you that if you find persons who you believe ought to be considered and to be eligible for PATH, if you find that they don't get on, which they may very well have reason why they're not on, I would think that it is best for you to now send them and ask them to do the appeal. They ought to be advised of the appeal option immediately as they are turned back. Right? So once you go through and you don't get through, the next step should be that you're advised you can appeal. Now, what I have found out in speaking to persons who have said to me that they didn't get on is that many persons, even though they are advised, either don't properly understand or do not use the option of the appeal, even though in their mind they think that they ought to have been on. So it's clear to me that we have some kind of, we have more work to do in raising the, not just awareness, but the understanding of what the appeal process is, how you can go through it, and what the benefit is if you go through the appeal. I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. Thank you. However, I have two more comments. As it relates to the processes at PATH, I don't think the stakeholders like myself, we are properly sensitized as to the benefits that are offered at PATH. Because even my manager, she has to invite somebody in from PATH from time to time to let us know what can I refer my clients for? How can they benefit? Because you see persons in need every day. It's the type of job that we have. And we know that they're probably there, but in terms of knowing exactly where to point this person, I think there needs to be more sensitization. The other comment, before I go, last one, as it relates to, I don't know if it's a customer service aspect of PATH, it leaves a lot to be desired. The clients they're always complaining about how they're treated. They're not giving a reason as to why this or why that. And I myself, I have to be apologizing because I am a part of the government system. So I think they need to.
So I want to assure, maybe this is the last comment and it should resonate. I want every PATH beneficiary, every potential PATH beneficiary to understand that I hear you loud and clear, and that as minister and as permanent secretary, we will be doing all that is necessary to evaluate how we are delivering the service and to also make assessments, parish by parish, of the kind of customer service that is being provided to our clients. And where there is need for change, there should be no hesitation in ensuring that we do what is necessary to train, to give support to staff, or if necessary, to make the changes. Okay? So we hear you, and that's part of what this whole process is. So we welcome those comments, because that can only help us to know how and why we should be improving. In terms of the comment you made before the last,
sensitization.
It is already intended that once we finalize where we're going, which doesn't have to be a large or a significant depart from where we are. Maybe it's a few tweaks, who knows. But when we are finished that, a big part of what we are going to have to do is to have this on-the-ground national campaign telling Jamaica what this new path is and what it is going to do for you and how it has been tweaked and what the improvements are to be. So, listening to you, I recognize how important it is for us to not just have sensitization where somebody comes in and speaks to you, But maybe what we need to do is to have some workshops before we are finished doing all of what we're trying to do, to invite at a more critical level your discussions and the discussions across government to help us to define what the new path is going to be, instead of just informing you of what it's going to be. So thank you, because you have helped us to think of something we didn't think of before. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for that, Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our town hall meeting. Thank you so very much for your comments, your questions, your suggestions, those ideas that you shared. I really believe that it was a very interactive session, and I thank you for the energy. If you did not get to ask your question during the live discussion, you can, of course, speak to representatives of the ministry who are here in this room and outside in that tent. There are several persons who the PS directed to speak to Miss Blair, I believe. Miss Blair's ears must be ringing off the hook. And we are going to make sure that we address those issues. Really and truly, I believe the key takeaway today is that PATH is changing lives, helping to alleviate poverty, moving people from one place to the next. But the government is very firm on the fact that we need to build on that. There needs to be improvement. We are serious about transformation, and as Minister said, moving on a path to excellence. Before we go, I have to say special thanks to the team from the ministry leading this path to transformation. Minister Charles, Permanent Secretary Colette Roberts-Risden, the CTD who is here with us, Chief Technical Director Audrey Dare Williams. We also have the Project Director who is with us as well. A big shout out to the technical teams, the PR and communications team rather, who have been working on the ground, and the hard-working production teams who make it possible for those who are not here with us to see and to be a part of the conversation. The Ministry of Labor and Social Security will continue this series. There will be at least one other meeting, right? At least 3 other meetings where I am sure we will take some of the learnings from this conversation. I heard Minister say we probably should get somebody from the Ministry of Education to be part of the conversation. It is a collaborative effort and it is one government, so we want to make sure that we are covering the bases and connecting in a way that is meaningful. Reminding our viewers online that you can still put up your questions if you do have other questions that you did not get an opportunity to ask this afternoon, and the ministry will follow through with responses. My name is Stacey Ann Smith. It has been a great privilege to be here with you moderating this conversation. Do take care and walk good.
The government of Jamaica, your government, is committed to guaranteeing social protection for our most vulnerable citizens. Through PATH, the Program of Advancement through Health and Education, we provide critical social assistance to needy households, especially those with children, pregnant and breastfeeding women, persons with disabilities, and elderly dependents.
Beneficiaries of the PATH program receive bi-monthly cash grants, back-to-school and tuition grants, and examination fee assistance. Participants are included in the Steps to Work program, the Ministry of Education's school feeding program, among others. We invite you to apply for the assistance your family needs. Visit your parish office and apply today. Remember to bring your children's birth certificate, TRN, and a government-issued ID.
Your Ministry of Labor and Social Security partners with the Ministry of Education and Youth and Health and Wellness to provide several programs for our PATH beneficiaries. We want to help. We care. Apply today.
For more information on PATH, visit our website at www.mlss.gov.jm or call us at 876-922-8007 or visit any of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security parish offices island-wide. PATH, serving you since 2002.